Hey friends, welcome back to Willow Creek Homestead and week 2 of the Pantry Challenge. So this is Friday night and we are going to be making some biscuits and gravy together to just make my life a little bit simpler for Saturday for breakfast. And here is a little throwback for you guys. I will link the video up above if you are interested in learning how to do bulk tenderloin processing, but basically all of the scraps from the tenderloin that my friend and I processed, I just went ahead and put through my food processor, and then I stored them in freezer bags, unseasoned or anything, and tried to utilize the scraps. So this is what we are making the biscuits and gravy out of, and it actually turned out phenomenal. It's not like breakfast sausage, but it's really, really good, and it was a really good way to just repurpose scraps from this big bulk processing day. So after I begin to get some really good color on the sausage, I go ahead and season it up. Now, I did not have sage, and that's a pretty big seasoning component in biscuits and gravy, but I used Italian seasoning and garlic and onion powder, and it turned out incredible. So basically, once you get color on your sausage, you're just going to sprinkle in some flour and make sure you get all of your sausage coated really well. And then we are just going to cook this for an additional 2 to 3 minutes to get that raw flour flavor out of it. And then I'm just going ahead and adding some milk, and I will give a reference recipe down in the description box for all the recipes that I'm making because I just wing them at this point because I'm so used to making them. But basically, after you allow this to just thicken up on the stove, it is done. And then I had breakfast ready to go for me for Saturday morning. My husband and I usually eat lunch for dinner, so I cook breakfast on the weekends and then dinner at night on the weekdays, and we have that for leftovers for lunch. So here was that the next morning. It was delicious and it made my life a lot simpler. And then quickly, I just wanted to show you guys all of these beautiful eggs that the girls have been laying. If you are new around here, we got 9 chickens about 2 months ago, and they are still laying like crazy for me, even in the cold. So these eggs have just been beautiful to see come in. And I'll give you a run through of the girls. So this is Blue. She is a Polish Silkie and she lays white cream eggs. This is Miss Pearl. She is a light Brahma and lays brown. This is my Easter egger, Jane Doe, and she lays the beautiful blue eggs. This is Cruella, my Polish, and she lays white eggs. She has the best hair. And then this is Emerald, my black copper Maran. She lays brown spotted eggs, which are beautiful. This is Cinnamon, my naked neck chicken, and she lays light and dark-ish brown eggs. And then this is Molly, my zombie chicken. She lays white. This is Charlotte, my dark Brahma, who lays brown. And this is Sparkles, my daughter's bantam chicken, whom I have not gotten an egg from yet. So it's been super fun having them and seeing all the different colors that they lay. So we will have to come up with some recipes that use a lot of eggs here soon. But now we are moving on to dinner for night 2, and we are going to be making some homemade alfredo together. So I am just starting off with sauteing some onions in some garlic infused oil that we made together. I'm going to be doing a video with you guys making more of that because it is so incredibly good. And I wanted to show the labels that I had gotten off of Amazon. I was buying the wooden tops to go on my mason jars, but those were quite expensive. So I just started putting them on the tops of just the regular metal bands and lids, and they actually look really cool. So after I get some color on my onions, I'm just going ahead and throwing some broccoli in there and then utilizing some of this pre-shredded chicken that I have in my freezer. You guys have seen me talk about this. I buy whole rotisserie chickens and shred a bunch. And then once you get really, really good color on all of that, homemade Alfredo is so incredibly easy to make, and I just make it right in the pan itself. So I just go ahead and pour in some cream, and then I add some grass-fed, grass-finished butter, and then a bunch of Parmesan cheese. And that is basically the base for any type of homemade Alfredo. And then you can season it to your liking. So usually I do Italian seasoning, I do basil, I do lots of garlic and onion powder, and it's phenomenal. I will leave a simple recipe down in the description, but if you have never tried making homemade Alfredo, I would highly encourage you to do so. And then I didn't think I was going to have quite enough cream, so I just added a little splash of regular milk, which you can absolutely do if you don't have enough cream like I did on this night. So basically, after you get all of that incorporated, you're just going to turn your pot on a low and let it start simmering. And then I'm going ahead and getting some linguine in my pot with a little bit of salt in the water. I use linguine and I break them in half because it's easier for my daughter to eat as opposed to the super thick Alfredo noodles. And I only cook the noodles about halfway so that everything can cook and combine in the pot at the same exact time. So once you allow this to simmer away, it should thicken up very nicely, especially because the pasta has the starchy component But if it's trucking away and you can't get it to thicken, feel free to throw some pasta water in there. And then after all of that is done, dinner is done. And you guys, this was so incredibly good. My daughter loved it. Now we are going to be making a super simple ham and beans. So again, just starting off with some garlic infused oil and going ahead and getting some onions sauteing in my skillet. Now, I found a really good deal at the store for this Jiffy cornbread honey mix, and I have not reached the point where I make cornbread from scratch. And if you are still in the midst of your homesteading journey, which most of us are, and trying to make things from scratch, I'm just here to tell you that it is 100% okay to use something from a box or from a can. Not everything has to be homemade, but I will eventually be making cornbread from scratch. This night was just not that night. So now, after I get the cornbread in the oven, I go ahead and add some diced ham. I like to buy big things of ham and pre-dice at least half of it so I have it in my freezer, which makes adding it to dinners like this very, very simple. So now I just went ahead and added some Great Northern beans and then a couple pints of chicken stock. Great Northern beans are my favorite beans to have on hand. They go amazing in things like this or, barbecue baked beans or whatever you want to make with them. So then basically I just season to my liking, and my family and I like ham and beans a little bit thinner, but if you would like to thicken it up, go for it. You could cook it down longer or, make a little cornstarch slurry and throw it in there, however you want to serve it. So then by the time everything is heated all the way through, I'm just getting my husband's dinner ready for him. I try to have dinner ready every single night for him whenever he comes home. So I'm going ahead and getting him some cornbread served up, and then this is the best part of it. Put honey on top of your cornbread whenever you make ham and beans with it, and it is so incredibly good. Now I'm just adding some pepper to the top of his bowl, and then dinner is done on this night. It was so simple and so incredibly delicious. So, this night we are going to be making an incredibly simple spaghetti together, and I almost didn't even include it because there's not a lot to put in with this recipe. But this, I guess, is just to show you guys that you don't need a lot to make a really, really good dinner. And my daughter does not like all of the extras in spaghetti, so I keep it very, very simple for her. I just brown up some hamburger and throw in some homemade spaghetti sauce, get that all incorporated, and then I do throw in brown sugar with my spaghetti. I know that's a little bit controversial. I would also usually include cream, but I did not have any on this night. So basically for the base, it's just hamburger and the spaghetti sauce with a bunch of really good seasonings, which are mostly homegrown and home dehydrated, which is always nice to include in a recipe like this. And then I just go ahead and get some spaghetti noodles over on the side to boil. And then once they are, I would say, a little bit more than halfway done, I go ahead and include them in my spaghetti sauce. And then I just bring it up to temperature so that the noodles can finish cooking in the sauce and get really, really well incorporated. And for as simple as this is, you guys, it turned out incredible. So, just again, a piece of advice, you don't need a lot. Simple recipes are usually always best. And my daughter and my family absolutely loved this. And then to finish off my week, we are going to be making one of my new favorite soup recipes. This is an Irish cabbage bacon soup, and I actually posted about it not too long ago. So, first and foremost, I just start off with some bacon in my pot, and then I add some onions to be sauteing along with the bacon and get incorporated in all the grease so that they can be working together to make some really, really good flavors for us for this soup. So, just getting that stirred in. And then once they have the desired color that you would like, go ahead and throw in some cut up cabbage. I used a little less than half of a whole head of cabbage. But then I just go ahead and throw in whatever seasoning. So I think I did Italian herb seasoning, some onion powder, some garlic salt. You can really get creative and throw whatever you would like in there. But basically, after all of that gets to saute a little bit, I go ahead and use a couple pints of home canned chicken stock. And I am super low on stock. We are going to have to make up some stock together here very soon. But then I'm also including 1 quart of home canned potatoes. And then after all of this comes up to temperature, this recipe is done. So I hope you have enjoyed the video and I hope it inspires you all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.